Hello, YouTube. It's Adam Hundley here with the Tree of Liberty Digest. And today we're going to come at you with some political commentary. Get a little bit different up in here. So, today's subject, I'm sure you've all heard way too much about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Today we're talking about Russian collusion. First thing that you're probably going to think of is, oh, geez, aren't we done with this? But please stay tuned. I want to reveal to some of you some of the finer points to this whole investigation. It's maybe, just maybe, going to make a lot of you smile and grin. All right, so long story short, there's a company called Fusion GPS. Now, Fusion GPS does not stand for Fusion's Global Positioning Systems. No, it stands for Fusion Global Research, Political Analysis, and Strategic Insight. So basically, they're an intel gathering company that uses open source investigations to gather data on people who their clients pay them to gather info on. So, once upon a time, the Clinton Foundation paid Fusion GPS to come up with dirt on President Trump. And Fusion GPS took it upon themselves to go ahead and purchase the time and intellectual property of a man named Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele was an MI6 agent from Britain, which is the equivalent to the CIA here in the United States. Christopher Steele came up with this dossier on President Trump, which was supposed to contain a lot of various links to him and Russia and how they attempted to steal the 2016 election. So, Bob Mueller gets assigned to investigate this dossier. Now, a little bit of history on Mueller. See, way back in the day, he was tasked with investigating a crime ring in Boston. They had an informant in the mob. By they, I mean the FBI, had an informant in the mob. And this informant, his name was Whitey Bulger. Now, some of you may have a bell in your head ring real quick when you hear this name because of a movie that came out a few years back called Black Mass, based on a true story. That is the very same Whitey Bulger that I am referencing to you now. You see, there was a big scandal, and they wanted to cover up the fact that this criminal had corrupted several FBI agents tasked with handling his case. So they put Robert Mueller on the job. Now, this is years ago, folks. Years and years ago. Robert Mueller ultimately decided that there was no wrongdoing with the FBI and the 4 people that had been put in prison wrongfully just for knowing about this little cover-up. So these people sat in prison for 30 years, till the mid-90s. Yeah, but there's more to that story. It all comes back to what's going on right now. So now that I've got you intrigued, let's continue. So, Mueller conducts this investigation into the Trump-Russia dossier for 2 years without a shred of verified evidence. He looks under every stone, turns over every leaf, and tries to find a shred of anything that he can relate to Russian collusion or obstruction of justice. After 2 years, Mueller can't find a damn thing. Who'd have guessed it? A guy that can let 4 people, 2 of which die in prison over the course of 30 years for no reason. He can't find anything on the president? You mean to tell me that in 2 years of the most intense investigation, just looking for evidence, Not investigation tying evidence they have to the president, but 2 years of just trying to find evidence, period. And he finds nothing. So the only result of the Mueller investigation really now is that the left, aka the liberal side of America, funded by the Clinton Foundation, just spent all that money and time to reveal to the American people that our president is quite possibly the least corrupt individual in the world. I mean, as a Trump supporter, I didn't even think he was that good. I mean, we all heard about the grabbing him by the pussy story, and that all that shit happened back when he wasn't running for president. This was just a guy in his personal life, and he happened to say something stupid on a hot mic. It's the same guy, and they can't find anything wrong with him. That, I think, is a special kind of irony. But it goes way beyond that. The irony is much, much thicker. It is irony like the taste of blood in your mouth after you get socked. See, the left, furious that Robert Mueller couldn't give them an explanation as to how Trump rigged the election, because he didn't, are demanding that they see his report in full, fully unredacted, with all of the grand jury testimony available for them to read. Mind you, it's illegal for grand jury testimony to be made public. Yet the left furiously demands that Attorney General Barr release this information to them so that they can continue their smear campaign to tear down our president. So, Attorney General Barr decides that he's going to place a certain very reputable prosecutor on the case to find out if indeed there was anything shady going on in this investigation. Guess who he chooses? Well, you see, back in the early to mid 90s, Janet Reno, amidst the Boston mob FBI scandal that I mentioned earlier coming to a head, Janet Reno assigned John H. Durham, a prosecutor, United States prosecutor, attorney prosecutor, whatever it's called, assigned him to the job to investigate if in fact there had been corruption in the FBI relating to the Whitey Bulger scandal. Now, he found out there was 4 people, 2 of which I believe have passed away prior to this investigation in the 90s. He found out these people sat in prison for years and years and years and decades, and ended up getting them released from prison with about $20 to $30 million apiece as a settlement for their time. Now, this man makes things happen, and he sees justice for what it is. Now, fast forward to 2019, Attorney General Barr places John H. Durham on the task of investigating the Mueller investigation. The same man who, decades and decades ago, let 4 people sit in prison wrongfully and rot, is getting investigated by the same guy who got those people out of prison. Like, if there isn't a God and his sense of humor isn't great, then I don't know what else to say. Like, to me, this is just, it is like the cherry on top I can't wait to see all these leftists running around foreign countries trying to survive because they're afraid they can't come back to the United States without being in federal prison. Like, let's see all these guys go and start living in extradition-free countries. Mind you, John H. Durham put the head director of the FBI in prison because of this cover-up. He served 7 years or so in prison for covering up this scandal, and now he's in charge of investigating the Mueller probe. That right there is comedy gold. I don't care who you are. Stay tuned, because in the next couple of weeks we could see some criminal indictments being handed out to various individuals in the leftist community who may or may not have extended their authority a little bit too far. Thanks for joining us on the Tree of Liberty Digest for your hot little slice of political commentary. Glad you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.